to figure out how to get their maximum viewers. So Jon Wilner, who we've had on the show before, had 6 suggestions. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these suggestions for the Pac-12 to maximize their TV deal. And it could be things you could apply to maybe the Big 12 and other conferences going on down the line. Number 1, play early. Play some 9 a.m. kickoffs, because based on the numbers that they would get on Jon Wilner's, kind of extrapolating out, that would be 3 million, which most Pac-12 games don't really get. So how do you feel about 9 a.m. kickoffs in the Pac-12?
I live in the Central Time Zone, so fine with me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for the West Coast people to really, I guess, be up in arms over or have headaches about. The thought of having to get up that early, where you're tailgating at like 7 a.m. I don't even know what the tailgate scene's out there, quite frankly. But, I mean, that's part of the deal, is that you just see them on randomly. I'll do a 7 o'clock Baylor game and have 3 hours of a game, which I did see, some of the things they're kicking around as far as shortening game ideas, including not stopping the clock after incompletions. I saw that brought up, and I definitely think that college football games last way too long. I definitely am on board with that. They need to shorten these bad boys. But as far as that in particular, I mean, I think that would get more eyeballs on the product, because you'd actually have people awake to watch your product in the rest of the country. Now, for the West Coast, I mean, that's where your fan base is. So, again, they won't be probably too excited about the thought of 9 a.m. kickoffs. But if that means that you're on at 11 o'clock in Texas and you're on at noon in New York and Florida, and that's how you can get more people watching, then, I'd rather see them play at 9 a.m. than at 9 p.m. Because how many people are watching at that point? I know I'm a sicko, so I love Pac-12 After Dark, and it's a way to wind down during football season, is whatever random-ass games on there, like Oregon State, Washington State, at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I love it, and fans that are up at that time love it. But, yeah, most of the country's asleep. So that would get them at least in a time frame of when people are actually really tuning in. Yeah,
and look, he also says, and I agree, I think they should play, I'm not, one night, not all 9 a.m. games a week, but Pac-12 could be the Pac-12 for breakfast and Pac-12 After Dark at the same time, because he also suggests that they play late, that they do continue those games, and make sure that those games are not some of those games aren't just kind of random Oregon State and Washington State. Maybe it's USC and Oregon as Pac-12 After Dark to make people stay up, occasionally. Not all the time, but, maybe make those a little bit more marquee, or at least raise them to the mid-level as not to the low level.
Yeah, I mean, if you want people to tune in to spice it up, having USC or Oregon or Washington or some of those schools in versus who we typically see, because it does typically feel like it's like Washington State, it's Oregon State, it's Utah, and hey, I love watching Utah, but I mean, I do think that if you're going to have those late games, which you clearly are, then actually making some of those the teams that people normally tune in for does make sense. I wonder on those teams' ends, like a USC, how opposed they would be to playing, that late. Not that they don't do that on occasion anyways, but I'll tell you the biggest mistake that I feel like that they probably make is on the marketing side of things, because Pac-12 After Dark's like common lingo in college football. Fans know what that is. They know it's how you end your Saturdays, is whatever late games on, Pac-12 TV, whoever is playing is how you're going to wind down. If not that, then it's like some random Hawaii game, right? But I don't know, maybe they have advertised it well, but it doesn't seem like the Pac-12's really embraced the Pac-12 After Dark thing. And, maybe they have, and I've just missed out on it. I don't have the Pac-12 network like most people, and I don't feel like I've seen that many commercials really promoting it outside of just the normal commercials that we see. But if you tried to make that like your thing and really embrace it, and then, you got like USC versus – you wouldn't put USC Oregon in that spot, but USC versus somebody worthwhile. And spice it up and really like market it. It's Pac-12 After Dark. Like it's the big game for this conference that is unique because it's – After Dark. I think that would be something cool, but they don't really do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do USC Oregon every single year, but I would maybe do it once.
Maybe once for like the first time or something,
throw it out there, make it interesting. It's one of the bigger draws on that one. Play non-conference games in November. This one isn't possible during their current media rights agreement with Fox and ESPN, but could be written into the next one because, right now, the Pac-12 is like a lot of other conferences. Their non-conference is done in September, and that could shake things up and make things more interesting. Where you gotta all of a sudden USC will play Notre Dame in November. That'll happen depending on Notre Dame's schedule. Or that BYU was playing a lot of Pac-12 games. That happened, and those games got good ratings. So why not do that for everybody else?
Yeah, I'm not really big on the late switch out of conference games. I don't like when the SEC does it with the gimme game that they have towards the end of the year. And we've talked about that. I mean, I understand everybody plays those opponents, but I think the messaging behind it of like, well, everybody needs a break in the SEC. I just think that's kind of bupkis, quite frankly. I don't know that 1 week, or a couple week stretch really makes that much of a difference, but maybe it does. I see it more as this is a layup that we have towards the end of the year so we don't burn out our teams and we all stay in contention. That's how I see it. But yeah, if you have obviously USC Notre Dame works well. I don't know how you'd set that up because I don't know how everybody's schedules are and what kind of premier opponents they would have. And you do have to have some of those earlier in the year. But I suppose if you could, sneak in a premier non-con game in like November or something, that would be okay. Yeah, I'm not as on board with that one, but I can see where there would be some attraction to that.
Yeah, all right. So his fourth suggestion would be adopt a pod system with pod A being the Washington and Oregon schools. So that's those four. Pod B being the four California schools, and pod C being the Mountain Desert or the Four Corner schools. So, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah would be that pod. And then that way it creates 3 annual opponents for every team. It's the only model that allows the California schools to play each other annually and preserves the Oregon and Washington game and guarantee the other natural rivalries.
I mean, sure, everybody's gone pod crazy. Like, everybody's talking pods, and I'm just like, okay, like that
might be the only conference where I really kind of support it working. I like the 3-6 model better. Something
yeah,
like
I do too. I think, what the SEC is apparently going back and forth over, everybody seems to feel like there's one solution that makes sense. I haven't given the Pac-12 as much thought just because they haven't been as much out there on the forefront of the conversation. But, yeah, I mean, if that preserves rivalries and somehow makes it more interesting for folks, sure. It's not going to affect me as a viewer all that much because I'm not a Pac-12 fan, so to speak, but – if that's coming from Pac-12 folks, so yeah, if you think that'll make it better, then sure.
Yeah. Number 5 and number 6, I'm going to say together: play the day before Labor Day and play the day before Thanksgiving, because nobody really owns the day before Thanksgiving. It's a Wednesday, which that one I kind of disagree with because that seems like a Mac kind of a thing to do.
Yeah.
And plus, at that point in the year, do you want to have that really short week unless you can set it up to where you maybe play on a Friday the week before that, and then you've got a real wonky schedule on the back end, especially if you're a really good team and you kind of draw that day before Thanksgiving rivalry that year for the Pac-12. Now, the day before Labor Day, I think, is great. I think there's no NFL games. There's one game this year on the day before Labor Day, and it's Florida State versus LSU. So why not have a triple header of non-conference games on that day? That's something I think college football kind of misses out on. Like we talked about yesterday, not owning the month of December and now giving up more real estate in January. They could really own Labor Day, or the day before Labor Day, because what else are you doing? What else could be on?
Yeah, I don't really dive as deep into this as some people do as far as like the weekends and whatnot. I mean, I do know that the NCAA has really relinquished their stranglehold on what should have been a stranglehold in the month of December and even parts of January, but particularly December. So yeah, I suppose if you feel like you can reclaim or you can claim a holiday weekend or a certain pocket of TV time that is not already carved out for some other entity, then and make it your own, then sure. I mean, I'm all for just marketing and people being able to promote as best they can. So if playing on one of those, holiday weekends or before or whatever it was, is a way to get more eyeballs on, a game and on teams, and you have more of an audience because of the timing of it, then that's great. I'm all for that, whoever does it and whenever they do it. But, yeah, college football needs to do more of that and less of here just handing it over to the NFL because we're all unable to see the bigger picture here. We're all too busy focused in on our cell phone pictures of ourselves. That's because that's basically what it is. Everybody's looking at their own small situation, which is not small to them, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a bunch of small compared to the bigger issues facing them. When everybody's being selfish, you have these bigger problems that come up, and everybody's selfishness and laziness and just, I don't know, being eye off the ball has allowed the NFL to claim more and more territory that college football had there for the taking, and they just let it happen. And if they can claw back and find some pockets for themselves to be able to carve that out and make that college football, that's great. But they miss some opportunities, which is every topic known to man when it comes to the NCAA. You could say that about missed opportunities.
Absolutely.